Alright, what up guys? I made this channel because I want something so I can sort of have an outlet to talk about hip hop since I'm always listening to it and talking about it, usually with people online, and sometimes I just have a lot of thoughts that I never get out. So allowing that to be an outlet for um, an audio equivalent, like a podcast, or in this case, just a rambling about hip hop and my thoughts on it, and not really trying to become an authority on anything or do a whole bunch of big videos, commentary on hip hop or anything like that, but more so just as a way for me to just talk out loud and feel like someone's listening with a recording. So, I have a really shitty mic here. It's just some earbuds that I bought like 4 years ago so I could play GTA Online with my brother when I was going to college. So really cheap headphones with a mic, terrible quality, but it's not really what it's about. Just about kind of talking about hip hop, and hopefully if anybody out there is also a fan, they can just kind of listen to me ramble here. But just want to talk about what hip hop's looking like for the next month here. Um, Mainly on the underground side. There's still some good stuff out there for mainstream, but these days most of the best stuff is coming out in a more underground space. So let's just see what we got going on today. It's April 8th. In about a month, we've got the new Billy Woods album. Really looking forward to that. So it's been many, many years since a true solo Billy Woods venture. He had Maps, I believe, was early 2023, and then We Buy Diabetic Test Strips was later on that year. So we're about 2 years, year and a half away from Billy Woods music in general, but both of those being collabs with Arm& Hammer and Kenny Siegel. So it's been since Terror Management, late 2019, since there's been a true solo Billy Woods album that's been comprised of multiple producers rather than just a single producer, with Messiah Music or Preservation, guys like that. So really looking forward to that. Some of the people that have heard the album already, the Backwoods has given them advanced copies. People in the media space, they're all saying it's his best work, which is high praise, but I can see it with an artist like Woods. He's constantly upping the game, setting the bar to a new level, and I don't doubt that this could very well be his best work. He's dropped so many amazing projects, but when you're talking about an artist of that caliber, at a certain point, it's not unexpected that they could drop their best work at any given moment, despite what they might have done previously. But the track list is looking really good. A lot of great producers, as I mentioned, some of his common guys he's working with a lot. Kenny Siegel, Messiah Music, Preservation, guys like that. So on the feature side as well, we're getting a rare Despot feature, Al Divino, which is a surprise. I know we've heard about that from a few months ago. Divino was talking about giving his best verse to Woods. Really interesting collab. I know Woods has shouted out Knack, so it's nice seeing those guys get some shine. Hopefully we see a NSD Knack and Woods collab in the future, but it's cool to see Divino for now. Also got Bruiser Wolf on here. Production side, you've got Conductor Williams, Sadu Gold. So a lot of guys that you're not seeing too frequently with Woods. So it looks like it's going to be a pretty interesting album, 18 tracks. So really looking forward to that one. We've also got the upcoming Blue and August Fanon album, 40, that drops later this month as well. Really interested to see that one. Fanon does a lot of collabs with rappers. He probably has, 20, 30, 40 full albums he's done with rappers, but I feel like Blue is one of the more prominent ones. No shade to anybody that's ever made an album with August, but just as far as, a wider audience. So that's good to see Fanon getting some shine. A couple pretty interesting features on that album as well. The single is really good. So I'm looking forward to that album quite a bit. Also, same day, April 25th, later this month, we are getting a new Fly Anakin project, The Forever Dream. The couple singles from that have been really great. Some of the best stuff that Anakin has done in the last few years. So really looking forward to that. A lot of your typical, a lot of the guys you'd expect to see on a Fly Anakin project there. Some of the Mutant Academy producers, but the album is also executively produced by Quelle Chris, so he's got quite a few beats on there, handful of features. Also really looking forward to the song with Alchemist. I remember hearing a preview for that a while ago, and I can't find the video now, but I remember it being a really great song. So looking forward to finally hearing that in high quality. And of course, you got a lot of dudes like Denmark Vesey, Silk Money, who was on the single, and then also on another song as well, Nicholas F., Big Kahuna, all those guys. It's going to be a really good project, longer 16 tracks compared to some of the smaller projects that Anakin has done over the last year or two. So really looking forward to that one as well. We've got the next Boldy James project produced by a Real Bad Man, Conversational Pieces. That comes out May 2nd. Boldy has been dropping a whole bunch just in this beginning part of the year, a whole slew of projects. I haven't listened to them all, but a couple of them have been pretty good. The Chuck Strangers collab. I still need to get to the Vidon album, but a couple singles were pretty good, so I'm looking forward to that one. A lot of his projects have been, some guys that you're not really expecting producer-wise, lesser-known producers. I'm not really familiar with Ant's beats, so, all due respect to them, but I just don't have as much interest in checking out every single thing that Boldy does with, every single producer, but there's a lot to look forward to in general with him. The first Real Bad Man project was pretty good. I liked that one from, what was it, 2020 already, 5 years ago. Killing Nothing in 2021. I didn't like that as much, but there's a couple tracks towards the end that were really good. Then they had the Sade project with the samples. Wasn't big on that. So with this upcoming project, if it's going to be more of the same, or maybe they're gonna branch out a little bit, it's hard to say. So I'll probably listen to it, but I'm not sure what to expect regarding that just yet. But Boldy also does have several other projects in the works. I know Static Selecta, he was working with him a couple of years ago, so hopefully we get to see that project eventually. In terms of actual dates, we've got the Nicholas Craven third collab. Just today, actually confirmed by Craven that it's coming out on July 11th. So we still have a bit of a time before that comes out. There's going to be a couple singles, but Craven has also said that he's working on a fourth project with Boldy and also one with Boldy and Ransom together. So there's a whole bunch of Boldy music coming, a lot with Craven, but just also a lot with other producers as well. Still really anticipating the Alchemist collab. I know they've been teasing that for a long time now. I think it was like 8 months ago they put out that 10-pint single on YouTube, and they haven't really said anything since. So I got to think that one is very, very soon. Really looking forward to that. So hopefully we get some news on that soon. And I know obviously there's the Jay Dilla collab that has been talked about. Not really sure where that's at, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. But speaking of Craven as well, he's also announced a little bit of a schedule for his upcoming work. So later this month, there's a single with the God Fahim, I Don't Care. They've been dropping a whole lot of music for the last, 5-6 months. I think since October, they've been dropping 11 projects. The Myth Who Never Quit 2 and The Myth Who Never Quit 3. And then they dropped 9 entries into the Dump God Hyperbolic Time Chamber Rap series. So Fahim's back to that dump mode, really at a level we haven't seen since 2017, where he dropped like 45 projects or something, dropping every other day, dropping multiple projects a day. So for this new series, he's dropped every few days. He's also been dropping some other collabs in there as well. But it seems like he's building up towards a bigger, more formal quote-unquote album in May 16th, because Craven announced that he's dropping with him Ultimate Dump God. So I assume that single later this month will be leading up to that. And all of these are going to be on streaming platforms as well. Most of the stuff has been on Bandcamp previously, so it does feel a bit more important when you put it on streaming platforms and you're trying to get a wider audience. So I haven't listened to a whole lot of the hyperbolic time chamber rap series, but a few tracks are pretty good. It's not my favorite duo ever, but they have some interesting songs they make every so often, and I have a feeling this Ultimate Dump God album is going to be a lot longer than just 7 or 8 tracks. Maybe a few more features. Maybe we'll see a return of Mach and Fahim. They haven't really collabed a whole lot the last couple of years. I think the last time that they had a song together other than on Rich Ass Haitian was Dump Goat 2, which was just a compilation of some previous stuff that was done on Dump God Reloaded from early 2023. And even then, that stuff was probably made during all of their sessions for Dollar Menu 4, Duck Season Tiger Style, Notorious Dump Legends 2, all of those projects that they were making in 2022. So we don't have a whole lot of up-to-date, brand new Mach and Fahim stuff. So hopefully we see him return on Ultimate Dump God with Craven there. Speaking of Mach, it's been almost a year now since he's announced the Conductor Williams collab, so not sure what the status of that is. I think it was in July or June, right after Rich Ass Haitian. He went on a press run, did 7 or 8 interviews, and really talked in depth with a lot of different people about the album and what he's got coming up in the future. But it's been mostly quiet since November when he did the Rich Ass Haitian live show in New York. And I know back when he announced the Conductor album, he said it was going to be very, very soon. He had it completed other than just the features. But around the same time, Conductor was saying they had 7 or 8 tracks done, and he was being really particular with what they put on the album. So it's hard to say where it's at this point, but it's good to hear that it's kind of a 50-50 thing. We haven't really seen that since the DJ Muggs albums from Mach back in 2019, where it was essentially, a 50-50 split of collab. Muggs got top billing when it's released on DSPs, so that's a true collab. If you know Mach, it's tough to sometimes get that producer title when you're working with him just because of the way he approaches music. So when that happens, it's actually a lot of production going into it. And for this Conductor collab, it seems like they're not just taking a pack of beats and rapping over them. They're actually in studio making stuff. And early 2024, we saw some studio pics of them there, probably working on some of the stuff for Rich Ass Haitian, but presumably also working on their collab album. So hopefully that comes soon. I think the Rome Streets album with Conductor is coming first. That one was done, I think was being mixed just a couple weeks ago. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that in like May or maybe June. And then once that comes out, then we'll kind of pivot to what Mach is doing next. So hopefully we see that soon. A lot of the very best Mach tracks in the last 5 years have been produced by Conductor. I've been a bit critical of him at times, to be honest, but he's really stepped up his game recently, and I think that the Mach stuff, especially on Rich Ass Haitian, has been amazing. So really looking forward to that and then seeing where that goes with the other stuff that Mach has mentioned, like the K-Tronada album and things like that going forward. Then to pivot into a little bit of more mainstream stuff, just today as well, Mass Appeal announced that they're doing a Legend Has It series, which is supposedly 7 rap legends dropping new albums, I guess, in the next couple months, probably through the end of the year. We've got Slick Rick dropping actually next week, April 18th, with an album called Victory. It's kind of interesting that they're starting this rollout. There's an album ready to go only a week later, but at least it's moving quick, no long drawn-out rollouts or anything like that. And then Raekwon is also dropping in May. I got some confidence in that one. I feel like Raekwon is always going to drop something of decent quality. His newer albums aren't always the best. I think that album, was it The Wild, I think it was called, from 2015 or 2017 or something. That wasn't the best, but he seems to always show up when he's on a feature, so looking forward to that one. It's also really close. May 16th, called The Emperor's New Clothes. And then we've got Ghostface Killah, Supreme Clientele 2. Um, that one makes me nervous. You know, anytime you do a legendary rap album and you make a sequel, there's always that worry that it's going to ruin the original, which is probably an irrational thought because nothing will ever change the original. But when you add something onto that legacy, it can sometimes make it feel like you're kind of just ruining that name and the perceived quality of that original. But regardless, you know, Supreme Clientele is going to be always what it is no matter what. But this album has been teased forever. I think it was early 2022 when it was even talked that Kanye might be producing it. I doubt that's the case anymore. I guess we'll see. That one doesn't have a date yet, but supposedly it's coming very soon as part of this Legend Has It series. And then we've got the Mobb Deep album we've been hearing about called Infinite. That's the one that Alchemist and Havoc have been finishing up for a while now. I think just a couple weeks ago they were in the studio putting the final touches onto it, so I expect that one to be a few months away still, probably after some of these other projects come out, maybe July, August, that type of timeline. But I have confidence in this one. Posthumous work is always a bit sketchy, but given that Havoc is heavily involved, Alchemist is heavily involved, I have a feeling they're going to put absolutely everything they can into it to make sure that, you know, the final Mobb Deep album is going to be as good as it can be. And I'm sure Prodigy had a lot of stuff recorded that they can pull from, and, you know, even full songs they made over the last 30 years that, you know, could just slot right in without any remixing on the beats or trying to take Prodigy acapellas and putting them on there, whatever. So I have good faith in that one. One that I don't have a lot of faith in, unfortunately, is Nas and DJ Premier. That's been talked about for a while now. I think they dropped a single last year. Just kind of came and went, as much as that phrase is overused, but really, really unsure on how that one's going to pan out. Nas is one of my top 5 favorite rappers ever and has probably the best prime ever, as a lot of people say, but his recent music just has not been up to that standard. And it's not just because he's working with Hit Boy for 6 albums, but even the DJ Premier stuff, it's just another one that makes me nervous, not for the same way that Supreme Clientele does, but it's just unsure on what the quality is going to be. Is Nas going to bring his A game? Is Premier going to? So we'll see how that one goes. It could be, you know, the best one on this list potentially if they're both completely on their A game, because I think they have the highest chance of being great part of this list. But right now, I'm just not sure how to feel on that one. And then the last one is De La Soul. I have a feeling that one will be pretty good. And not really much information on that otherwise. No title or anything, release date. I guess I missed one. It was the 7th one. And I missed it because it's actually the probably the worst one on this list. It's a Big L album. I'm not really sure what they're pulling from in terms of what actual music. Are they just taking verses and putting beats behind it? You know, is it stuff that he actually recorded back in the 90s or whatever? Unclear on that right now. But kind of similarly with what I was talking about for Prodigy, the difference here is that we're not really sure who's, you know, involved in this and what they're doing with it. So I have a feeling that this one's going to be on the worst side of posthumous albums. You know, it's always a tough discussion when you're making a posthumous album in general, but the fact that they're doing this one, you know, 30 years later or whatever, it just raises some red flags, but we'll see. Maybe it's going to be really well handled and a lot of good new Big L verses, and I guess we'll just have to see. So that's the 7 albums that they're doing through Mass Appeal. Legend Has It series they just announced today. So looking forward to about half of those. There's a chance that all 7 could be amazing, and there's also a chance they could all be kind of just okay or even teetering into the bad territory. One of the unfortunate things of being in the game for so long, some of the greatest rappers ever just, run out of stuff to talk about, or, the quality control just isn't there. They don't know how to adapt to the way the game is in 2025. So there's always those considerations. I don't want to be negative about that, but it's you got to be a little skeptical, given some of the other stuff that's happened in the last 5, 10 years with legendary rappers dropping new projects or posthumous stuff coming out. So there's always that skepticism. But on the other hand, you could have stuff like Gangstar. I think it was 2019 they did that album, and that was really well handled from Premiere. So who knows? It could be anything. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I'm glad that they're kind of kicking this series off right away, and they're announcing everything up front. So get a Slick Rick album next week, Raekwon next month, and then presumably we'll hear more about release dates for those other ones pretty soon after. It'd be kind of cool if they did one every single month, just to kind of keep it consistent and not keep questioning about when things are going to come out, especially with like Supreme Clientele 2 and how long that's been in the books supposedly. It'll be nice to see that one finally released, whether it's good or not. But that's pretty much it for my ramble today. I never really have a structure here. Just kind of wanted to talk about things that were happening in hip hop today that were interesting to me and just start talking about them. I guess if I continue to do this, it might be good to have just some sort of structure at the very least, kind of ending on a common recurring topic or theme or something. So I guess what I'm listening to right now, maybe that's a good thing to end on. I would say absolutely check out Psycho Sid beat tapes. That's all I've been listening to the last couple days. Psycho Sid is also a part of Mutant Academy. As I mentioned previously with Fly Anakin, he's got credits on that Anakin album that's coming out later this month too. So been listening to a lot of that. I feel like he doesn't get a whole lot of shine compared to the other producers just because he doesn't have a whole bunch of collabs, full albums with the members of Mutant Academy, and he's not always pretty prominent on their solo albums. So I think he sometimes gets underrated, and just listening to all those beat tapes that he released over the last 5 or 6 years and beyond, last couple days just been listening to those over and over again because they're so good. All those guys are really talented in Mutant Academy, so check out all of Psycho Sid's beat tapes. They're pretty short. You can listen to most of them in a few hours. If I had to recommend one, I would say Sunset Drive 2. Pretty much all of them are available on DSPs, so you should be able to find them easily and give them a listen. So yeah, that's what I am listening to and what I would recommend. Hopefully you enjoyed this rambling video of me talking about hip hop on April 8th, 2025. We'll see how frequently I want to do these. And like I said at the beginning, it's kind of just about me rambling for myself rather than anyone else. But if people want to listen, then that's cool. And maybe get more structured and try to keep my topics more in line and stop, rambling from topic to topic. But there's not always that much interesting stuff to talk about new, but there's an infinite things you can say about hip hop in general and talking about the classics or highlighting some underrated stuff. So appreciate it. Thanks.